Hey guys, it's me Courtney and welcome to my channel. As you guys already know, Fenty came out with a new foundation. This is the Pro Filt'r Hydrating Foundation. She already had the soft matte foundation, which I'm actually a really big fan of. Now this one is $35 for 1.08 ounces, so you get a little bit more than your average 1 ounce foundation. It is like the squeeze tube, but it does have like that pump type of situation. Mine's already dirty because I've been using it. And of course it comes in the famous Fenty 50 shades. My color was 370. That's the closest one that I can get to my skin tone. Now the 370 does have a little bit more peach in it than I would like. I would like a hint more yellow, but it does work pretty well. It's really close. Also picked up the new Kabuki brush she came out with. This is the new 115. A Kabuki usually kind of spreads out a little bit. This one still has a rounded top. You can always get a Kabuki that's like a flatter one as well, whereas the regular foundation brush is a little bit more tapered inward. It still has that slight dome. I am a fan of both of these brushes. I don't necessarily think you need both. I do use the original 110 foundation brush a lot because I think it does a really good job at like getting the foundation really into your skin. This one is really good as well. However, I don't like using either one of these with the new hydrating foundation. I feel like with this foundation and with hydrating foundations in general, I typically like to use a sponge just because it sits into the skin a little bit better. So that's what we're gonna go in with today. I'm going to go in with about 2.5 pumps. That's what I've been using. I'm gonna go in on this side first. Now it is gonna get spread out a little bit, so that's not like the main, like all of the coverage, but yeah. That's essentially what we're gonna be looking like. No foundation and foundation. I haven't been able to use less than 2.5 pumps. It just doesn't give me enough coverage. And then I did try using more than 2.5 pumps, and that's not a good feeling for my skin. Like it started feeling really oily and icky. So 2.5 pumps for my big face and big head is where it's at. A lot of the complaints that people had about the original foundation, I didn't really have. I didn't feel like it dried down too quick. I felt like it wasn't super mattifying. To me, it was always a soft matte finish, and I could go with setting it or without setting it, and it did pretty well on my skin. But if you are worried about dry time, this is a foundation that doesn't dry down at all. So there's that. For primer today, I definitely forgot to use one. So we're just gonna see what this is gonna do on bare skin. Well, over my skincare, some of my skincare. Now, every time I put my skincare on, I usually give myself about 30 minutes before I put on any foundations, any primers or anything anyway. So this is just going to be on top of skincare today, and we're just gonna work with that. For the record, I was gonna go in with my Nars Pore and Shine Control Primer. I think that this foundation does the best with this primer out of all the primers that I've used with it. But I have not tried it without any primer, so let's see what that does. It's a nice medium coverage that's one even canvas, and I do love that about this foundation. I think my skin looks really luminous, but like a healthy glow, not like an oily glow. Now I will say that this foundation, I think I already said it though, but this foundation does not dry down. So it's going to be sticky, and it's going to be even transferable throughout the entire day. I've tried setting it with multiple setting powders. I've tried not setting it, and I've tried setting it with even like the sheen kind of powders that I like to do sometimes, and it's one of those foundations, it's going to be a little bit tacky. So if you are somebody that does not like a tacky feeling foundation, this is definitely not it. Overall, me being dry skin and the way that my skin looks, I really like this initial application. I'm gonna go ahead and finish the rest of my face really quick, and then we can come back and kind of see how everything looks all together. Yeah. Alright guys, so this is the look that we are going to be rocking today. If you are curious about any of the products that are on my face, as always, that will be in the description box below. It is now 11:27, so I got a little bit of a later start than I wanted. but that's okay. We're still gonna go ahead and do an 8-hour test. I did want to mention one of the things about this foundation that I do really like. The Fenty Beauty Match Sticks is one of my favorite contours for my face, and I feel like on top of this foundation it kind of melted in really well, and it went on even smoother than it usually does. So that is one really good pro about it. Everything, you know, in general goes on really nice on top of the foundation. Like, I haven't had any problems with any powder sticking, because I know sometimes with foundations that are a little bit dewier or hydrating, they can sort of have powders cling to certain spots, and I didn't get that with this in all the time that I've been trying it. Now, I will say that this is more of a medium coverage for me, so I didn't really get to build up as much as I would like to with this foundation. I just don't feel like this foundation is that buildable, and it also is very lightweight right now. I don't feel anything on my face, even though I did I went in with the mineralized skin finish from MAC and Patrick Starr. I used that to set my face. I actually like using powders like this when I want my skin to be a little bit more luminous. It is a little bit tacky, but it's not annoying. It doesn't feel annoying, and it still feels very lightweight and comfortable on the face. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here, and I will see you guys in the next clip. All right guys, I am back, and this is what my face is looking like. It is now 6:29, so almost 6:30, so about 7 hours roughly I've had this foundation on. I'm mostly oily in the main area, which is always the T-zone. I think most people are pretty much oily here, around the nose and right there. I do feel it, but it's not to the point where it's like, get this off of my face. I do get a very minimal amount of creasing right here. It can be a long-lasting foundation. Again, I think it just depends on what primer you use. When I used it with the actual Fenty, the soft mattifying primer, hot mess. I highly do not recommend that. Now, with that being said, I don't know if it'll work better with like the Fenty hydrating primer or the Fenty mattifying primer. Again, wasn't really interested in those. Even today by itself, it didn't do horrible. And I mean, I didn't even actually get as bad of creasing in my smile lines as I have with other primers. I feel like the initial application is very beautiful. I love like the skin-like luminosity of it all. I love that I can set it or not set it and it still is luminous. It doesn't take away, like powders don't take away the luminosity necessarily. I do caution though using powders on top of this foundation, just because I feel like it got more oily on the days that I tried to set it with the powder. On days that I tried to kind of see if I can mattify it a little bit more to take away the shine, I feel like those were the days that it felt the heaviest. 2 hours in, we get oily, and then it consistently gets oilier and oilier. Then it becomes slippy and slidey and all of that. Even now, looking at it, I do see that some of my pores are a little bit more open than I would like. However, I mean, this isn't a face that I would be embarrassed to go out of the house with. You know what I mean? If you have any fine hairs, any little tiny texture marks, anything like that, this foundation sticks to them. I tend to have like a little bit of hair, which I think most people do, but have a little bit of hair above the lip. Some foundations are really good at masking it. Sometimes my concealer masks it, whatever. This foundation makes it so prominent that it slightly annoys me. Just be mindful that if you do have like fine hairs or anything on your face, this foundation may accentuate those. So maybe shave that day, I don't know. Overall, like when I look up close, today it's not that bad, but on other days when I've looked up close to the foundation, it just doesn't make me feel beautiful. Like I feel like the way that it clings to my texture sometimes, the way that it clings to those fine hairs, it's not my favorite. Again, I think the initial application is beautiful. I think it even photographs well. I did do a flash test, and I'm gonna leave that somewhere on the screen so you can see that. But I don't think it has longevity. I don't think it's the foundation for me. And if you have oily skin, steer clear. This is not it. As far as what I recommended, I think if you have severely dry skin but not textured skin, I think that this would be a great option as far as that goes. But honestly, I feel like there's so many options out there that are better than this. I'm going to go in with my Soft Focus finishing powder from Black Radiance. Putting the powder on, I do see that there's a little bit of oxidation around my nose, and already I'm starting to get the oil seeping back through underneath the powder. So, is it breaking apart? Alrighty, so never mind. At least from afar, you guys can see that you can mattify it. Maybe this wouldn't be the best powder to mattify it with. Alright guys, that about does it for me. Hopefully this video was helpful. If so, please give me a thumbs up. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video if the mood suits you, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.